What's up you guys, and welcome back to another Reddit reading video. Today we're going to be doing something that I've done before, but I just wanted to do it again because it's kind of fun. We're going to read the first 3 stories that come up on Malicious Compliance. So we have, let's open up 3 tabs. Let's duplicate these. So boom, first one is going to be learned real quick about Malicious Compliance while doing high-end construction. That's going to be our first one. Second one's going to be, sorry boss, I don't speak Spanish. The third one is going to be, you want me to see a doctor? Boom, we have our stories of the day. We let luck and people's upvotes decide them. Now, these better be fantastic. No, I'm just kidding. I don't doubt that these are fantastic. Almost all of them are really good, especially if they're at the top of the sub. Like I said in the last video, that was a one-off video. It didn't get really that many views, but I just, it was a topic about Reddit and robot reading videos. I just thought that it would be like fun to do it. It was fun to do it. Didn't get many views, but at least I had fun. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Learned real quick about Malicious Compliance while doing high-end construction. Years ago, I was doing construction for a casino in the restaurant portion, while another company was doing work on a hotel. The generic contractor was notorious for being a dick and insisted no extra work was to be done without prior written authorization and approval by the owners and architect. Basically, follow the plans exactly. This happens from time to time and usually find little mistakes and submit an update and approve the added expense. Not this time. 10 floors were built exactly per plan. The top 2 were luxury suites, marble floor to the ceiling in the bathrooms, really expensive stuff. Towards the end of the job, they were walking off the suites. Probably 95% of everything is done. Where's the light switch in the bathroom? Head electrician just smiles. None were in the plans, sir. We followed the plans to the letter. Just like he said, no lights, no switches. We could hear screaming several floors down. They ended up having to rip out marble in every bathroom to run a pipe for wire and the lights and switched. But didn't lift a finger until we were guaranteed in writing that we would be paid for the extra work. Well, that's pretty much what he gets for being a jerk and being like, no, don't do extra stuff, don't try and help, don't try and fix things, let me screw myself over and get you guys paid a little bit extra. I'm sure this one was a big winner for the person implementing the malicious compliance. Good on him. Followed the rules, did what he was supposed to do, and got a little bonus check out of it. Is it me or was this one like really small? That is a very small story. Good, small and satisfying. I like that. It just sucks that a lot of the small stories never get gilded just because they're little, I guess. People like to gild the bigger ones. Speaking of larger stories getting gilded, we got a large or long. I don't know if it's large or long. I never know. But it's gilded. Sorry, boss. I don't speak Spanish. I work at a hotel as a night auditor, and this malicious compliance begins with a small bit of information I was told when I was initially hired for the position. When I was interviewed for the position, this was very important later on. I was told by the HR lady that the hotel paid a bonus $100 for each foreign language I spoke well enough to serve our guests. Management cleared my $100 for speaking English after I passed through the evaluation period. My main language is Portuguese. At first, I was glad to be working the night shift, mostly because my colleagues then, Mr. Castillo, was from Guatemala, so whenever any guest that spoke Spanish showed up, he handled it, and in turn, I handled any English-speaking foreigners. Naturally, he did a lot more work since the amount of Spanish-speaking guests was significantly larger than our English-speaking ones. Meanwhile, Mr. Castillo was in the process of learning English, and I had taken an interest in Spanish, so we helped each other out. Not long after, Mr. Castillo got a job paying several times over what the hotel did and sadly left me. My new colleague, a newly promoted bellboy, didn't speak English, though he could understand some, and didn't speak Spanish at all. In fact, he didn't even try to improve any of his language skills while I slowly kept improving my Spanish, trying to use more and more of it every day to serve our dear guests. As I started this month, I spoke to our front desk manager and asked him in plain Spanish what did I have to do exactly to receive my $100 bonus for speaking Spanish. He was surprised but said nothing more since the front desk got busy with checkouts and my shift was up. But a few days later, he mentioned that he spoke to HR and informed them I was speaking Spanish well enough to receive my bonus. And now, he was just waiting to hear back from them. A few days later, the HR lady asked me what size shirt I wore, since we were going to be ordering new uniforms in the coming weeks, and took the opportunity to ask her about my bonus for Spanish, and she mentioned they were talking to our director about it. A day later, she informed me that they wouldn't be paying me for my bonus for a foreign language, since it was on file that I was already receiving it. I replied I was receiving a bonus for English, not Spanish, and she would speak to the director again within a few days. All would be made well. Now, I was really in a hurry to get my bonus, but it would be really nice if they cleared it already, as it showed up in my next paycheck, but guess what? They didn't. Our director talked to HR again, and my boss told him, even though I'm serving our dear Spanish-speaking guests in Spanish, I don't in fact speak Spanish. I am far from fluent, but I can explain how the hotel works, direct guests to where they need to be, and assist them on what they need. Be finding a pharmacy at 3 a.m., getting a cab to go out to get drinks, or even hire an escort. Yep. But apparently, it isn't good enough for our director and the managers who said we really can't afford to fight him on it. Okay, no biggie, I guess. Maybe we'll try next year, when I can speak a little better. However, the cruel and unforgiving gods of the hotel industry gave me the perfect opportunity to strike back. Earlier last week, we received a large group of 30 plus Spanish speaking tourists, which in addition to our normal occupancy, meant we are effectively sold out for the week. Big groups are usually minor inconvenience when you're checking them in, but even bigger problem when they're checking them out. Especially if they're one person per room, which means you basically have a huge lot of rooms to check out, one by one. While an endless line forms in the front desk, 80 plus checkouts are unusual for our hotel on Friday mornings, but 110 plus is a problem. Normally, when the morning shift has a workload this big, our front desk manager comes in nearly to help. But he couldn't this time, since he took a personal day since his mother fell ill. That left our night director with just one choice: to ask a night audit to stay late to help until our reservations people clocked in and could then replace us at the front desk. See, my colleague doesn't like staying late, especially since he works a second job with his new father in the afternoon, meaning he only has the morning and early afternoon to sleep. I don't like staying late on Friday nights because of the amount of checkouts, which means it'll be forever before you can take a break, or even more so before you can leave. However, this time our director didn't even ask my colleague, and instead told me to stay late because we would have a sizable workload and about a third of it would require someone that spoke Spanish, or it would slow down everything to a crawl. I told him I wouldn't be staying late that morning, and before I can get another word of him, he started yammering about how I'm wrong, and I should be more of a team player, and that we would be very grateful for it. Wanting to get back to my sleep, I told him to ask my colleague, and he said he couldn't, that they needed me. When I asked him why, he clearly stated, we need 2 Spanish speakers that morning to make sure everything goes okay with the checkouts. Not one for missing an opportunity to get payback, I replied, sorry boss, I don't speak Spanish. Turned off my phone and went back to sleep. Update, sorry for holding on in the aftermath. I wrote this during my work shift and I was putting on the finishing touches. We had a server crash and I spent the next hour and a half trying to restore our backups and get the camera system up again. Update, aftermath. After I woke up and turned my cell phone back on, I had several missing calls from the hotel and 2 missing calls from our front desk manager. Good guy. I called back at the hotel that afternoon, shift picked up, and they didn't know anything, so I called my manager's phone. He answered and asked what was going on because the director was furious about me hanging up on him and that I was refusing to work. I explained to him the situation in regard to my bonus for speaking Spanish, and since the hotel was trying to hold me out, I was going to withhold performance. Anyone who's ever worked for customer service know how much damage withholding performance can do, even if it's just a little. In the end, my manager begged me to stay until our reservations people came in at 8 a.m. My shift ends at 7:20 a.m. I agreed on the condition that I would not check out anyone who spoke Spanish. He reluctantly accepted and said he would back me up in the following poop storm that would happen. What happened was the group came down for breakfast precisely at 6:40 a.m., finished at 7:10 a.m., give or take, and went back to the room to collect their belongings. At this time, the 2 front desk attendees of the morning shift had arrived, as well as our bellboy. Plus, there was me, my colleagues waiting to punch and go out. We had already started checking people out, and this day was particularly busy. We had 3 to 4 people waiting to be checked out, and it doesn't help that we have 3 computers for 4 people to work with another computer to use to check the cameras. When 7:20 a.m. came up, my colleagues quickly picked up his things and left, and I took over his spot. At this time, it was very few people in the group that started coming down, and they already had to wait since they were all checking out other people. A few minutes later, I got the first one, but told them I couldn't check them out since I don't speak Spanish, and asked them to wait for my colleagues to become available. In the end, I ended up refusing to service 10 or so people, which started forming a line right in front of the front desk, which only grew since other guests assumed they were in line to be checked out. My colleagues on the morning shift were not happy at all. The guests were less than satisfied, and when the first of our reservations people showed up at 8 a.m., I logged out, punched out, and went home. By that time, there was a 20 people plus line. waiting to be checked out by 2 overworked receptionists, only one which spoke Spanish. In the ensuing poop storm that happened, the hotel's director arrived at 8:30 a.m. in an attempt to minimize the anger of the human centipede who formed at the front desk, started chatting with the guests and otherwise trying to distract them so they would be less angry and avoid giving the hotel a poor review. I got a mild chewing out by my manager for poor work ethic instead of being written up. True to his word, he backed me up for the director call and HR for a meeting regarding my actions. You can't demand someone speak a language that you know they don't know, right? I still haven't gotten my bonus for speaking Spanish, and I let my manager know I will not be speaking any Spanish while on the job until they give in and give me my hard-earned bonus. Wow, that was a really good story. I was not expecting it to be that good. He got some really good revenge on him. Like, that is some of the best workplace revenge I've seen. But hey, they told him he can't speak Spanish, so he didn't speak Spanish, and that's what he did exactly what they said he couldn't do. If I was in his position, I would probably be doing the same thing. I would be like, no, I don't speak Spanish. You said I don't speak Spanish. It still sucks that he hasn't got his bonus for it. And now there's probably like a little bit of fuss in the workplace. But hey, what are you going to do? Sometimes you got to stand up for what you think is right and not just give in. Even if it's like hindering other people. You got to show people that you shouldn't be walked on. And $100 is really nothing to a big company. It's really absolutely nothing. But the last story is, you want me to see a doctor? As a teen, I worked under the golden arches of McDonald's. I was treated like poop on the daily, always catching the poop jobs, getting rotated at the last minute. It was Saturday night and I got off my shift and went to a house party. We drank and drank and drank like teenagers do, British teenagers. And come Sunday morning, I was hanging. 9 a.m, I was heading to the bus stop. My phone rings. My boss kicking off that I'm not in work. He altered the rota early this week and I hadn't noticed. Me, I'm too ill to be in. I've been throwing up. Boss, that's funny because the manager from the next town over just saw you at the bus station. Me, seriously, I'm genuinely ill. I should be okay tomorrow. Boss, no, you need to go to the doctor and get the all clear to come into work. Well, okay then. This is the UK. Doctor's appointments are free, so I booked one for the next day. I tell the doctor the problem. I got drunk on Foster's and threw up. And then he asked me for a note declaring me fit for work. The doc explains this is not an NHS covered thing outside of mental health. And as my employer requested it, it would be a chargeable item from the practice. He asked who the employer is and suggests that I should really require this. I call my boss from the doctor's office. Me. The doc says the certification is a chargeable thing. Boss, I don't care. Either get a certificate to return or don't come back. The doc hears and gets to work putting together a certification letter. He tells me not to worry about the cost this time. He prints it and pops up an envelope addressed to my boss and sends me on my way. I head in for my shift after lunch and hand in the envelope to my boss. 5 minutes later, he's screaming down the phone. Turns out, the dog had invoiced a franchise for the cost of the service. Somewhere in the region of £200. Is that 200 pounds? I don't know what that little E is. TLDR, boss insists I get certified to return to work. Gets a bill for it. Wow, I did not know that was a thing in the UK. But hey, she got her compliance. She did exactly what she was supposed to do and backstabbed him. Well, front stabbed him, I guess. She did it right in front of his eyes. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this r/MaliciousCompliance Reddit video. If you guys have any suggestions that you want me to do, any subs you want me to cover, anything like that, just let me know down in the comments. I take suggestions all the time. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. I hope I see you guys next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. My lovely. Yeah, I almost had you there, huh? Okay, bye.